Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. Today, we're going to be tackling AI.
Specifically, why adoption has been a little slower than we all expected, right?
Yeah, you know that hype and the promise.
Yeah.
But the reality is it's not quite living up to it yet.
So that's our mission for today, kind of digging into why that is.
Exactly. And we've got some really cool sources here that not only break down the problems,
But offer some real solutions.
yeah, things you can actually use.
Practical stuff.
So don't just doom and gloom today.
Definitely not.
All right, so let's jump in. I mean, McKinsey, for example, predicts that generative AI could save businesses like a ton of money.
Like trillions.
Trillions, yeah, $2.6 trillion to be exact. But then you look at the numbers, and only 20% of generative AI applications are actually in use.
Huge gap, right? What's the deal?
Now, what's the disconnect? Why aren't more businesses using it if it's so potentially game-changing?
Well, from what I'm seeing in these sources, it's not so much about the AI tech itself. It's more about the stuff you need to have in place before you even get to the AI part.
The foundation.
Exactly. And then there's this whole layer of human concerns too, ethics, security, proving that AI is worth the investment, all that.
So it's like you've got this fancy new kitchen appliance, but you know your kitchen's a mess and you have no idea how to use it.
Love that analogy. So true. And, speaking of ingredients, data seems to be the most important one.
Like the quality of the data itself.
Yeah, there's this quote from Rob Johnson at SolarWinds that really hits home. He says, high-quality data is the cornerstone of accurate and reliable AI models. Trustworthy data builds confidence in AI.
Makes total sense. If you're putting garbage in, you're going to get garbage out right.
Ugh.
And that's not exactly going to make people feel confident about using AI.
Nope. And here's the kicker. Only 43% of IT professionals actually feel confident that they can meet the data demands of AI.
Whoa, that's a huge gap. Okay, so data quality is a biggie. What can companies do about that? Like, even if they're not using AI right now, is this something they should be thinking about?
100%. The answer is strong data governance. That's making sure your data is accurate, consistent, and just organized in a way that you can actually use it.
So it's good for everyone, not just AI.
Exactly. It's like having a well-stocked and organized toolbox no matter what you're building. You need a good foundation.
I like that. And it kind of leads us to another big topic that keeps popping up in these sources, the whole ethics and governance side of AI.
Yeah. There's a lot of anxiety around all the regulations coming out, right?
For sure. But are these sources saying we should be looking at that differently?
Yeah, they are. Instead of being afraid of all the rules, we should think of them as a good thing.
How so?
Well, because they give us structure and guidance. It's like having guardrails on a highway. It keeps things moving safely and in the right direction.
So it's not just about avoiding legal problems, but about, making sure AI is used in an ethical way and building trust.
It's exact trust within a company and with the public.
I can see that. Okay, so how do companies actually do that? Are there any, concrete steps they can take?
Yeah, for sure. Having a solid compliance policy is a must, and a dedicated AI governance team is super helpful too. But maybe the most important thing is making sure that humans are still involved in the decision-making process.
So like keeping a human in the loop.
Yep, just to make sure things don't go off the rails.
Right, like a safety driver in a self-driving car.
Makes sense.
Speaking of safety, these sources also bring up some pretty scary stuff when it comes to security and privacy in the age of AI.
Yeah, there's definitely some cause for concern.
For sure.
The Cisco 2024 Data Privacy Benchmark Study actually found that 48% of employees admitted to putting private company info into those publicly available generative AI tools.
Whoa, almost half of employees. That's a little frightening.
Yeah, that's a big yikes.
I mean, what kind of risks are we talking about here?
Well, think data breaches, compliance violations, damage to a company's reputation. That's not good.
It's like handing your company's secrets over to a stranger.
Pretty much, yeah. So how do we protect against that?
That's a good question. How do we protect against that?
Well, there's this guy, Avi Perez. He's the CTO of Pyramid Analytics, and he has this really clever system that basically uses metadata to work with those large language models without ever exposing the raw data itself.
Hold on. Remind me, what is metadata again? I always get that confused.
It's like data about data, so it tells you about the content without revealing the actual content itself.
Oh, okay. So you're like giving the AI a summary of the data instead of the whole thing?
Exactly. Pretty smart, right?
Yeah, definitely a lot safer than just dumping all your sensitive info into some random AI tool.
Agreed. It's definitely an area where we need to be extra careful.
For sure. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground already.
We have.
Data quality, ethics, security. Any other big themes jumping out at you from these sources?
Yeah, actually, one of the things that really struck me was this idea of AI transparency, or the lack thereof.
The black box problem.
Yeah, you put data in, you get results out, but you have no clue how it got there.
It's like trusting a magic 8 ball to make important decisions.
Exactly. And that lack of understanding can lead to mistrust, especially when you think about cases like that Amazon hiring tool that ended up being biased against women because of the data it was trained on.
Right, so we need to make AI less of a mystery.
Exactly. And Adnan Masood, the chief AI architect at UST, says it really well. He says AI transparency is about clearly explaining the reasoning behind the output, making the decision-making process accessible and comprehensible.
So it's not just about the what, but about the why.
Yeah, knowing how the AI reached its conclusion can help us spot any biases or errors.
I get that. And thankfully, it seems like there are tools out there that can help with this, right?
Definitely. Yeah. There are these things called SHPs, which stands for Shapley Additive Explanations, and they can actually show you how each piece of input data contributed to the AI's final output.
So you can see the thought process behind it.
Exactly. And then there are fairness toolkits like the one Google developed, which can help find and fix biases in AI models.
So there are things companies can do to make AI more trustworthy.
For sure. And if you want to go even deeper, there's the AI auditing framework from the Institute of Internal Auditors.
Wow, they're really getting into it.
It's a whole framework designed to help companies make sure their AI systems are meeting ethical and regulatory standards.
Very cool. Very cool. But let's get down to brass tacks here. The business case for AI.
Right, because at the end of the day, companies need to see that AI is worth the investment.
Totally. Some of these sources are saying that concerns about cost and a perceived lack of value are actually holding back adoption.
Yeah, and reports from Cloudera and Gartner definitely show some hesitation there.
But is there another side to that story?
There is. Gartner actually found that when generative AI is implemented effectively, it can lead to a 15% increase in revenue and cost savings for businesses.
Wow, 15% both ways. That's huge.
It is, and it really highlights how important it is to approach AI strategically, just like any other investment.
So not just jumping on the AI bandwagon, but figuring out where AI can make the biggest impact.
Exactly, whether that's streamlining processes, improving customer experiences, or driving innovation.
Right. Makes sense.
Okay.
One last big piece of the puzzle here.
Hitting it head on.
The AI skills gap.
Yep. Everybody's talking about the need for more AI experts, data scientists, all that.
But it sounds like these sources are suggesting that the problem might be even bigger.
It might be an Asana study found that 82% of organizations haven't provided any generative AI training to their employees.
82%. That's wild. I mean, with all this hype, you'd think companies would be rushing to upskill their people.
You would, but there is some good news here.
Always love good news. What is it?
Well, that same study also found that even using AI without any formal training can actually help people boost their skills and confidence.
So like learning by doing.
Yep, just getting familiar with the tools by actually using them.
Reminds me of when smartphones first came out. It probably seemed daunting at first, but then you just start playing around with it, figuring things out, and pretty soon you can't live without it.
Totally. And now there are all these low and no-code AI tools that make it even easier to get started.
So you don't have to be a coding wizard
Yeah.
to experiment with AI.
Nope, and that's one of the key takeaways here. The challenges might seem big, but they're definitely solvable.
I like that feeling optimistic.
Me too.
By focusing on data quality,
Mm-hmm.
Embracing ethical guidelines, making security a top priority, and investing in training, we can really make AI work.
Absolutely.
This has been such an insightful exploration.
I'm loving it.
I feel like I have a much clearer understanding of where AI is at right now.
The possibilities and the challenges.
Exactly, all of it.
Really fascinating stuff.
It is all right.
Where are we going next with this?
Let's see. Well, we've laid out the landscape now.
The lay of the land.
The lay of the land. So next, I think we need to dig a little deeper into some of these solutions.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
Sounds good. We'll be right back after a quick break. It really is amazing to think about how much AI is changing the world around us and how much potential it still has. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap things up?
I think the main thing is to remember that AI is a tool, a powerful tool, to be sure, but still just a tool. It's up to us to use it responsibly and ethically, and that begins with educating ourselves, staying informed, and being willing to experiment and learn.
I absolutely agree. So to all of you listening out there, I encourage you to think about the biggest challenges you face in your work or personal life. Could AI offer a solution? Don't be afraid to explore the resources we've mentioned today. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next AI innovator.
The future of AI is full of possibilities, and it's exciting to think about what we might achieve.
This has been a fascinating deep dive, And I hope everyone listening feels as energized about the future of AI as I do.
It's been a pleasure exploring these sources with you and uncovering these insights.
And a huge thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on this AI adventure. Don't forget to check out the show notes for links to all the resources we've discussed so you can continue learning and exploring.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating explorations of cutting-edge topics. We're always diving into new and exciting areas, so there's definitely something for everyone.
Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep diving deep. All right, so we've laid out the landscape now.
The lay of the land.
The lay of the land.
Yeah.
So next, I think we need to dig a little deeper into some of these solutions.
I'm ready.
Awesome. We've talked about data quality and ethical guidelines and, making sure AI is secure.
But how do we actually do that?
Right. How do companies put those ideas into practice?
There's got to be some practical steps, right?
Exactly. And that's what we're going to explore in our next deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Me too. We're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of things like data governance, specific AI compliance policies.
All the juicy details.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you don't want to miss it.
It'll be good.
It will be good. All right. That's it for today's deep dive into the world of AI.
Adoption challenges and solutions.
Exactly. A huge thank you to our expert for joining me today.
Always a pleasure.
And to all of you listening out there, thanks for tuning in.
Keep those brains engaged.
Yes. Keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you next time for another deep dive.